Now we begin tonight with the currently burning issue around national security, for which the National Security Advisor Malam Nuhu Ribadu has held an emergency meeting with service chiefs and heads of security and intelligence agencies. The meeting followed reports that U.S. President Donald Trump has directed preparations for possible military action in Nigeria. Security sources say the meeting focused on evaluating the implications of Trump's remarks, accusing the Nigerian government of failing to protect Christians from Islamist militant groups. It was alleged that the U.S. military was preparing to act in Nigeria to tackle Islamist militancy, a statement that has generated reactions across the country and beyond. Reports say the meeting of the NSA and the service chiefs was to coordinate a unified national security response and review intelligence assessments on the potential consequences of President Trump's pronouncement. Meanwhile, Special Advisor to the President on Policy Communication, Daniel Bwala, has stated that it is diplomatically inappropriate for the United States to carry out any military action in Nigeria without the explicit consent of the federal government. Bwala emphasized Nigeria's sovereignty and stressed that any foreign involvement in its security matters must be collaborative and respectful of its territorial integrity. His remarks followed U.S. President Donald Trump's designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern over alleged Christian genocide and his warning that the Nigerian government could lose U.S. aid if it does not address insecurity swiftly. Bwala dismissed claims of Christian genocide as inaccurate, highlighting that Nigeria's ongoing fight against insecurity affects all citizens. Now let's take a deep dive into this development as we turn to Dr. Yohanna Dangana, who is President Northwest Nigeria Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And also joining us is Dr. Keshi, retired diplomat, as well as, we will be further joined by global analyst Alexander von Rugen. Gentlemen, oh yes, here you are. Thank you very much, von Rugen, for joining us. You are here with us. So all three of us are here. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. Now, I'm going to be starting with Dr. Yohanna. Now, it's no longer news. President Trump has described situations in Nigeria as Christian genocide and hinted possible U.S. military intervention. So, Dr. Yohanna, that's a huge claim. It has global implication. From your vantage point in the North, do you think the situation truly fits that description, or is it being politicized for foreign interest? Dr. Yohanna, that question is for you. I think we have an issue with Dr. Yohanna's communication. So we'll be moving on to Mr. von Rugen now, if you do not mind. Mr. von Rugen, I'm going to put that question on your lap. Do you think that there are interests here, or does it really fit the description of what's happening in Nigeria?
Yohanna would be best to answer that, as he's on the ground in Nigeria. He's a Christian, and if the numbers are correct, which I can only go by what I'm reading in the news feeds, and recently when Eric Prince, the former owner of Blackwater, approached the Pope to offer his assistance for the security of Christians in Nigeria, the statistics he quoted was that there were about 7,000 of them killed in 2025 to date, and about 100,000 total since 2009. Those are quite astounding numbers.
So what does this signal for foreign policy? What does this signal for relationship between Nigeria and the U.S. when a country starts using words like genocide? Now, this seems to be something that could strain diplomatic relationships, doesn't it?
Well, yes, but it's not the government of Nigeria that's behind the genocide. And let's talk, if it quacks like a duck and walks like a duck, let's call it a duck. The rest of the world is challenging Israel and condemning them for a genocide in Palestine. There's been roughly 65,000 Palestinians killed in the conflict in Gaza. We're far in excess of those numbers, and let's not stick to Christian deaths. There's about 350,000 people Muslim, atheist, tribal that are in that tally. Christians amount to about 20% of them. But the fact that America is predominantly Christian, the fact that Trump's supporting strength in the party from the far right tends to be Christian, they're of course very upset about this. The missionaries in Nigeria have reached out to the West and called for assistance.
Okay.
So that's why they're mentioned.
Okay, then. I'll come back to you, Von Rugen, but I'd like to ask Dr. Joe Keshi a very interesting question now. So President Trump's, labeling of the situation as genocide comes with so much implication. It also threatened that he might also action this with boots on the ground. But we've seen this happen before, if I'm not mistaken. Let's talk about Kuwait, 1991. The situation there left a lot of things unattended to, even 10 years after. And here again in Nigeria, or we saw that in Libya, and here again in Nigeria, having this same situation come our way. So one has to ask if this is a genuine humanitarian concern, or perhaps maybe there's something else underneath. What do you think, Dr. Joe Keshi? Yet again, I seem to be having issues with our connection with our guests. Dr. Joe Keshi, are you there? Can you hear me? Dr. Joe Keshi, I apologize. It seems we cannot hear you. If your device is muted, you might want to check that.
No, I don't think,
Okay.
let me see. No, I don't think so. I'm unmuted if you can hear me.
I can hear you now.
Yes. First of all, yes, I think that the issues you raise have practically no relevance with what's going on in Nigeria. What we, and some of them bother, the ones who raise Kuwait, Iraq, and the rest of them, they bother on things that, touch direct U.S. national interests, and the U.S. felt that it has to take action. But this is a completely different situation. I think the first thing we need to realize, and Nigerians need to be completely or fully aware, is that this issue of declaring Nigeria a country of particular concern did not start yesterday. It's been on the table for many years. I have held a number of interviews, and I've made it clear that as permanent secretary, I dealt with the issue in 2009. I visited Washington, had a meeting with those concerned, and it was quietly resolved, and their concerns were taken. It's also realizing that there are a couple of things it has not done well in terms of trying to manage the crisis, and what they can do is find a way to manage the crisis. The whole argument that, Muslims are also being killed does not make sense. Muslims are human beings. Should they have been killed? A government responsibility is to provide security for its citizens, irrespective of religion or tribe. And when you fail to do this, and you have been failing for years, and people have been complaining, they've been compiling information. They've been sharing this information with the outside world. And the outside world has been taking notice of this. And now somebody has spoken and said, look, Nigeria, get your acts together or we do this. And we are all jumping all over the place pretending that it's a new issue. No, it's not a new issue. We've been just academical about it. We've paid no attention to it. How do you explain that for 15 good years, Nigeria is not at war, but so many lives and properties have been destroyed in this country as a result of the failure of the government to do the right thing, to do the right thing when it was necessary to do the right thing to save lives and property.
Keshi, so if Nigeria has failed, then who could help if not the United States? Where is the African Union? They've stayed noticeably quiet.
Nigeria has.
Just a second, sir.
No, I have not said Nigeria has failed. I said the government, successive governments have failed to take up. Look, I place on table again. This is not a new issue. This is not a new issue. It's just that the people pushing the narrative about genocide in Nigeria realize that they cannot get relief at home.
Ambassador Keshi, what about the African Union? They've stayed noticeably quiet through all of this. No clear statement, no visible mediation, no effort whatsoever. What about the African Union?
No. Look, the African Union has very little to do in this. If the Nigeria needs the support of the African Union, we can approach the African Union. But this is something that the Nigerian government needs to do on its own. And the way forward is engage the United States government as best as you can and lay out everything on the table and then give a guarantee that you will try and find a way to resolve the issue. Again, I will continue to say this. This issue did not start yesterday, but those directly involved, particularly in Benue, in Southern Kaduna, in Plateau, that have been pushing this narrative, they have not succeeded after so many years of taking it to the highest level, like in the United States, and now Britain has joined it.
Ambassador
Simply
Keshi,
because nobody in Nigeria paid attention to their complaints.
Ambassador Keshi, you will do pardon us. We have to go on a break, but I'm still going to come back to you two fine gentlemen because I still have plenty of questions to ask, especially with you, Alexander. Do stay with us. We'll be right back after this short break. And you're welcome back. We're still discussing the issues between Nigeria and, of course, the United States President, President Donald Trump. With us here, we have, of whom we've been speaking with, Dr. Yohanna Dangana, President, Northwest Nigeria Conference of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. He joins us now. We missed him from before. And, of course, we have Alexander von Rugen and Ambassador Joe Keshi with us. Dr. Dangana, it's good to have you here. I wanted to ask you from before, now the situation that's been painted by the United States President Donald Trump, I'm wondering, you are in the North, you've seen these issues. Does this paint the exact picture of what he is describing? Dr. Dangana, please.
Okay, good evening. Thank you very much for inviting me.
You're welcome.
I'm glad to be here. Really, this issue has some complexities. It has some perspectives that we must be fair in addressing this issue. Anyone living here in northern Nigeria must say the truth, or we have to say the way it is. We should not provide an imbalanced view about this matter. The truth of the matter is Christians are being killed here in northern Nigeria, and as well, Muslims are also being killed here in northern Nigeria. For example, if you come to northwest states, geopolitical region here in northwest, places like here in Kaduna, southern Kaduna especially, and then you go to Katsina State, you go to Zamfara State, you go to Sokoto State, you go to Kebbi State, there you are going to see Muslims being killed. As a matter of fact, few days ago, some Muslims were praying in the mosque in Katsina State, and about 50 of them were killed inside the mosque. So also in Zamfara State, a lot of Muslims are being killed in northwest states. Then when you go to certain areas in the north central, such as Plateau State, you go to Benue State and southern Kaduna and probably Nasarawa State, there you have a record of a lot of Christians being killed. So the question is, who is killing Christians and who is killing Muslims? These two religions, these two people, the suspect, or it has been alleged that they are being killed by herdsmen bandits. So herdsmen are killing Muslims, herdsmen are killing Christians.
So would you be clear,
So
Dr.
as far
Dangana,
as-
would you be clear, does this paint the same picture that is being painted by the US president? If you can give us a yes or a no.
I don't think it is completely yes, and I don't also think it's completely no.
Okay, I'm going to come back to you, Dr. Dangana.
Christians are being...
I think we've missed, we're having those issues again, but we'll come back to you, Dr. Dangana. Ambassador Keshi, I see you reacting there. I will come back to you. I need to talk to Alexander for a moment. Alexander, so country of particular interest. I mean, this phrase might sound harmless, but in global politics, it's a very, it's like a warning. Some people would say it's concern, some people would say it's selfish interest. But what exactly does that signal if foreign policy, or in foreign policy language, how should President Tinubu read his country being regarded as a disgraced nation by another country's president?
Well, it was described earlier by my colleague. This problem has persisted for the past 15 years, and the government of Nigeria hasn't come up with a solution. The rest of the world is watching. There's pressure on this from Christian groups. I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't further pressure escalated from Islamic groups. This is not a Muslim-Christian battle. This is a group of thugs using a cloak of the Islamic religion so they can expedite their greed and agendas for power in a given territory. They're killing Muslim clerics just as much as they're killing Christian clerics. Sheikh Albani, a Salafi cleric who was a staunch anti-extremist, was murdered several years ago by the same group. So let's not make it let's not make it denominational. Rather, let's look at a solution to solve the problem.
Solution is indeed. Ambassador Keshi, you were reacting there to Dr. Dangana's remarks or explanation of what's happening in the north. What was that we saw?
No, you know, this is why we've been unable to address this issue, because we have refused to face the reality of our time. You know, whether they are headsmen, many of them, majority of them are Muslims to start with. I have always maintained, and I repeat myself again, this issue has been on the table for so many years. Two, as he rightly pointed out, the problem is that look, whether you make the argument that, oh, Muslims are also being killed, for me, that is inhuman. Muslims are human beings. The question is, should they have been killed? Should innocent Muslims have been killed in the first instance? So what is the role of government? Government's role is the protection of lives and property. If you fail to protect your people, the consequence is what we are now experiencing. It makes no difference. A Muslim is a human being, for goodness sake. So let's stop this argument that Muslims who are being killed. No, that's not the argument. The argument is that we are confronted with a state of insecurity. We've been dealing with this insecurity for 15 years. And I've been saying to any Nigerian who cares to listen, can somebody explain to me how we have, quote and unquote, a powerful military? We are spending so much on defense. And for good 15 years, we've not been able to root out a group of ragtag characters destroying our economy, destroying lives and property, and then we believe that, okay, it's okay. Sometimes, like the killing of a number of Christians, nobody has been brought to justice till today. And let me say to the gentleman, you know, we in this country need to realize that we do not live in a world of isolation. When I confronted this issue, I met the group, appointed by the U.S. government that is dealing with this issue in 2009. They had, unbelievably, they had information, they had the numbers of Christians killed. They can pinpoint and tell you the villages where these people were killed.
Do we have that? Do we have those numbers? Does the Nigerian government have those numbers, Ambassador?
Look, I want to believe they have, because every day we see all kinds of numbers. But the point I want to make is that
if you
the
believe
U.S. government and those involved in this have numbers of what they are talking about. So that's not the issue. The issue for me is this insecurity has lasted too long, and there's no clear-cut explanation why it should last too long.
Right.
The fact is that it has cost us innocent lives. It's affecting the economy because we are spending so much on defense. The money that should have been used to develop lives, to develop, the Nigerian economy, human capital, and the rest of it. So it's not a question of Muslims are being killed or Christians are being killed. No, it's a question of the fact that time has come to end the insecurity. And if this is a warning from the United States that will make us end it, so be it.
So thank you for ending on that note, because I was going to come to Dr. Dangana, but I hear that we have lost Dangana. But let me just ask you two gentlemen in one statement each what your positions are on an American intervention. Alexander, please, if you'd go first.
I think Nigeria needs to extend an olive branch to Trump for his assistance. And that assistance is going to include sovereign respect of Nigeria and to supply whatever Nigeria needs in the form of a loan, not aid, but rather a loan, because that's Trump's position. He wants to give trade, not aid. But if it's for the betterment of Nigeria, this could open the door to expanded trade with America and at the same time get rid of a domestic problem which has not been going away anytime soon. It needs affirmative action, and it needs it as soon as possible.
Thank you very much, Alexander. Ambassador Keshi, of course, Nigeria says they would take support, but nothing that comes to on the mission of sovereignty. What's your stance on an American intervention, Ambassador Keshi?
Look, our sovereignty is not being undermined. I can tell you, I'm not too sure that the United States is going to try and invade this country, but it gives us an opportunity to engage the United States in so many ways. There are ways in which we can engage the United States and get this issue resolved. But again, I make the point. The first thing we need to do is end the insecurity in Nigeria. For goodness sake, stop the killing. Once we can do that, we can now begin to talk of other things with the United States. Now,
okay,
if we cannot do it on our own, we can actually engage the United States to help us in trying to, track down the marauders and then, clear them. Look, the president should give a clear-cut order to the military that between now and the next 3 months, no Nigerian space should be occupied by the bandits or by header states or whatever it's called.
Ambassador Keshi, apologies, but I must take Dr. Dangana's take on this. Dr. Dangana, while you were gone, I asked what your stance is on an American intervention. Where do you stand on this? Briefly, if you don't mind.
Okay, yeah. Sincerely speaking, that was the direction I was heading to.
Okay.
This is a clear symptoms of security failure in Nigeria. Since all lives are under threat in Nigeria, Christians are not safe, Muslims are not safe. So if America is coming to help us and have a perfect security and have these terrorists and bandits and herdsmen flushed out, it's a welcome idea. I welcome that America should come and help us get out of this problem.
Okay, then.
There is nobody is losing. All of us are gaining.
Dr. Dangana.
It's not a question of religion. Life is life. No Muslim should die and no Christian should die. I support what Ambassador is saying. So if America is coming to help us end this, I am in support.
All right, then. Dr. Dangana, thank you very much, President, Northwest Nigeria Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. Also, thank you very much, Ambassador Keshi, retired diplomat, and, of course, Alexander von Jürgen. He also joined us to have this conversation. All three of you